What's up, race fans? It's 7 o'clock. It's Thursday, and it's time for the Thursday Night Throttle. This is your look ahead to the weekend of events on the Top Row Racing Network of tracks and your look around Michiana Motorsports. I'm Buju, live from South Bend, Indiana, sometimes a race car driver, host of the Bullring Chronicles, co-host of the Monday Night Rewind, now co-host of the Thursday Night Throttle, live on Top Row Racing Media, joined by Lewis Noakes. How are we doing today, Lewis?
Oh, doing pretty well. The weather is actually nice. It was a little cold this morning, but finally opened up the window when I saw 66, and I went, "Okay, it's time to be at the racetrack." We got the 60s out, so again, I'm excited to see what tonight has in store for us.
Me too. First episode, race weekend finally. I feel like I've opened every Monday night saying how excited I am and how glad I am that we're so close to race season. Now we're actually here. So time to actually be excited now.
Yeah, and the weather got better as the week has gone on. The temperature didn't. That dropped, but the rain potential, that R word,
yeah.
that shifted around to like tomorrow. So it's like sunny skies, 60, 59, 60. You can't beat that.
Absolutely not. Perfect weather for racing. Hopefully we can full grandstands everywhere that's got cars on track this weekend, hopefully.
And coming up, I mean, next week really, as we get into the tracks tonight, I mean, next week just really starts the floodgates, opening.
Yeah. Ramps up next week, and then racing opening nights really start the week after. So yeah, the next 2-3 weeks here, we're going now.
Yeah, it's that time, right? So we waited all year, so it's about time, and not all year, but a lot of months. So it's like a year, right?
The off season always feels long when you're itching to get back, and I have certainly been itching to get back, as I'm sure you have to. You've had a couple previews with the enduros and stuff like that so far. I haven't been to a track yet, so I'm really fired up. My last time was December for Gateway, St. Louis.
Oh yeah, and I've never been to Gateway. My brother goes every year because he's a dirt. He lives up in Minnesota, way up in Minnesota, where it's brutally cold.
Yeah.
And he's surrounded by dirt tracks. And so even where he is, he's only a couple hours away from dirt tracks in San Diego. That's not right. South Dakota. And, he'll go to South Dakota too for a race. He'll go over to Wisconsin because he's near the border. And so, but he goes to the Gateway every year, and he's inviting me to go down. But at that time, it's like, well, I was working.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, then it was like, well, I think it was was it
PRI week?
Yeah. It's like, it's just too much sometimes at once.
Yeah. As a WWE fan, you would really enjoy Gateway. It's definitely a clash between the two.
Well, and it looks fun. I know a lot of people from our area who head on down there too. So, that's where, I know the Verdines go down every year, and I see pictures from them. Obviously, I see pictures from you. And so, and then pictures from my brother, he'll post them. It looks cool. So it's definitely on my bucket list, even just to go to experience it. I don't have to go down as media. And quite frankly, even get a media pass for something like Gateway is not the easiest thing. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of extremely talented people who got denied last year. So, I mean, it's a very exclusive club. So I'm like, just the experience, right? And I can still take pictures. I don't need a media pass to do that. Obviously, I'm not going to get my phone out and go live because there's, rules for that. And so
I think you might get tackled for that there.
And the rules are the rules, right? Whether people like it or not, it's the rule. And just because the neighbor next door to me, while they go live every year, I'm not chancing that. When I walk in with 41,000 people following my page, I stand out. Like someone with 100 friends isn't going to stand out. But yeah, so I won't chance that there. I learned my lesson at Bristol when I only held up my phone. I wasn't even going live, but I held up my phone, and XR staff was right there. Are you live? No, I'm not even connected to the internet. There's no I'm not even connected to anything. But well, we don't allow live. I'm not live. I'm recording. Well, you can do that. Okay, that I thought so because you and I already talked. We already got that cleared up because I asked. And. When you're standing down on the roof and turn 3 and 4, you're a little bit more obvious than if you're in the stands. So, things make it away with it. But when you're down there and you're surrounded by XR people, you're probably not going to get away with it, right? So, so I asked, I said, what are the rules? What can people do? What can't they do? Because I know Bennett Racing Group over there was going live. And I said, so what's the rule? And, And they said, hey, man, I'm okay with whatever, right? It does not hurt me one bit. But yeah, Gateway is definitely on my to-do list.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I was never big into dirt racing myself, and my friends drugged me to Eldora this year, and I'm finally a believer now. But hardcore and forgiving for my sins for uh pushing it off for so long, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I see. I've never been to Eldora either, but that's a bucket list. And I'm like, I'm always at a track near me, so sometimes it's harder to find those times to go to other
yeah,
events because I feel like that loyalty piece. Like,
I
well, this
get
is
it.
my weekly track, and um, this is where I need to be or I want to do because it's consistency. Which is why this year I did my scheduling a little different. Where New Paris, I did everything possible to not impact because it's like that's I want to be there so that it's consistent, right? Instead of like, well, this week I'm going here, or this week I'm going here. It's just not consistent, and I like consistency.
Absolutely. I'm excited to get into our local schedules though.
Oh
We
yeah.
got a great lineup tonight and a great lineup coming up around the area.
Well, and definitely don't forget our question of the night that we
Oh,
want
absolutely.
people to engage in the chat and let us know, especially as we preview all the schedules around the area for partner tracks that are in our immediate network. The throttle response. So, what short track event or events are you looking forward to most in 2026? And not to forget, we certainly want to shout out ELH Detailing for being the presenting sponsor of not only Top Row Racing Media this year, but the Thursday Night Throttle. So definitely, a question to start putting or answers to start putting in the comments. And we're going to be highlighting 7 tracks tonight. So definitely lots to talk about. So what do you think, Buju? You ready to jump in here?
Absolutely. And I'll add that my favorite event is in one of the schedules that we're going to talk about later.
Oh,
So we'll
good.
get into that when we get there.
Yep, and we do want to do a reminder too that this is just a basic. This is our first episode, so obviously we're just a baseline right now. We're starting at a start point, and we'll go from there. But if you would like, if you're a series promoter or a track owner or a track promoter, if you would like your events or events listed on the Thursday Night Throttle, email scheduling at toprowracingmedia.com. That's going to be the easiest way for me to manage everything with labels on Messenger and Facebook gets super crazy and things get lost very easily. So this way in email, I can label it, I can put it in a folder, and I can tag it. That way I can go through and remember to create the graphics because I create all the graphics. So that's going to be the easiest way to remember. So again, scheduling at toprowracingmedia.com. If you see a track not on here tonight or a series that you're like, hey, I think we should have that on there. And we'll leave it at that. So if you're ready, I'm ready.
Absolutely. Let's get into it. We're starting off with the quarter mile in Mason, Michigan. That's Corrigan Oil Speedway. Uh, they're still a few weeks away from getting underway. They've got open practice on the 25th. That's still 2 weeks from this weekend. But they're starting off big with their Unleashed season opener and then following it up with regular Friday night racing at 7. I've never been to Corrigan Oil, Lewis. Have you?
Yeah, Sean Sprague is the reason that I got up to Corrigan Oil in 2024, and going up there, that quarter mile is really fun to watch. The stands there, they're former NASCAR stands, and so you get up pretty high, and they have pretty incredible racing. I mean, anytime that I've been there, I know I don't leave away disappointed. I really like their Sunday shows, which obviously we don't have a Sunday show on here yet. That'll be coming up. But they do a couple Sunday shows throughout the year. So it's easier for me to get to a Sunday show than it is a Friday night because I'm at Kalamazoo. But man, that quarter mile, and I started at a quarter mile, right? So I get to quarter mile racing. That's why I really like my balance between New Paris and Kalamazoo because I get the 3/8 and then I get the quarter mile, back to back on many weekends. But yeah, that quarter mile up at
Yeah.
Corrigan Oil, their modifieds there, they put in an awesome show. The templates put on an incredible show, and their figure 8 racing. It's a little open class, so you have cars, you have trucks, you have different
Oh, I
things,
love that.
and yeah, and it's not at every. So when we talk about classes here, these are most of their nights that they're going to have modified street stocks, pure stocks, all American trucks, which there's also a series that of All-American Trucks, I believe there's going to be a series at Birch Run this year that's starting. They have ABC. Most tracks in the area are ABC. There's only a few holdouts who haven't gone ABC yet. M40 being one of those holdouts that hasn't gone there yet. New Paris hasn't gone ABC yet, although they did combine 2 classes this year, so they're kind of almost there. But they have ABC up at Corrigan, and that just seems to work in most of the Michigan tracks, is having a little bit of a rule set that follows national compacts. But then they also have mini wedges there, and on many nights they'll have figure 8 racing. So again, their figure 8 racing up at Corrigan, they always put on a show there. So that's definitely something to check out, especially on a couple of their Sundays.
Yeah.
I think this first Sunday has a figure 8 racing. I have to look again.
And that's May 31st. That is their first Sunday show.
Yes, they do it once a month usually.
Yeah, I named my show the Bullring Chronicles, so I love a tight little quarter mile. So Corrigan Oil is my type of track. I definitely need to get up there. I've seen videos, of course. I know the Mets, Todd and Todd Jr. both tear it up there. So yeah, we need to get up there with our front wheel drives. I think it'd be a good time.
Yeah, it's that the racing there, like I said, anytime I've been there, it's been mostly clean. I've heard stories, obviously, from people who are like, well, did you miss this? And I'm like, yeah, I did. You didn't do it when I was there. And, modifieds climbing on top of modifieds and all that kind of deal. But generally speaking, when I have been there, it's been a clean program. Jim Leisure's the owner. He does a nice job up there. He also owns Springport Speedway, although it's on land contracts. So in Michigan, land contracts you can be an owner too, but you don't have the title. And so, but Jim Leisure is the owner of Springport, and he's been in the game a long time, so he knows what he's doing. He knows what it looks like, and he's been around long enough to know what works and what doesn't work. And their Sunday shows last year, the crowd grew each time. So that was something that was really exciting. Their car counts were pretty solid last year. Their safety team seems to know what they're doing. And that's also important because when you need them, right? So from that point as a fan, I mean, it's a pretty clean program that they do there and pretty timely, for Sunday.
Yeah.
I was in Ohio the night before, didn't get home till 5 a.m., woke up just enough time to head up to Corrigan Oil, and the show started, I want to say at 5 o'clock, and it was done by about 7. So I'm like, I appreciate that.
Yeah, sure.
So,
and then just beyond the schedule that we have on screen, I mean, they put together a great schedule for the year. As you mentioned, the figure 8 racing, and you've said how great that is. They got 2 sprint car dates. They've got 2 National Compact Touring Series dates, Nights of Destruction, 3 of those Sunday days, as you mentioned. So they've put together a great schedule for 2026. I'm definitely going to have to get up there.
Yeah, Tri-State Sprints will be there. That's John Boy Hotchkiss. He's the owner of that, and they have a couple shows that will be there. I think the Motorhead Miller Mafia 1000 will be there again. Benny, I don't know if Benny Miller's on or not, but he definitely, they put on a nice little front wheel drive race there that it's 1,000 to win for like a B feature, and a pretty incredible payout too for a C feature. So, they really want to reward those guys who are not in the A. I mean, the A still gets their, show and dance, but at the same time, it's recognizing that the B and C feature guys put on a pretty good show there too.
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I got my schedules mixed up in front of me here, but.
Oh, no. Are you ready for another bull ring?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to go over to Galesburg, or as some people call it, the Berg. Some people, what I really appreciate when I'm there is I set up in the stands. I'm not on a roof or anything, and I don't take the video platform that is there because I know people put their lawn chairs there. And so I want to respect that because I'm there only a couple times and I'm a routine person. So I know some people expect that spot, and so I don't take it. I just set up right in the walkway there. And I mean, that I know Galesburg has been in the news with the township, but when you go there, those people are just incredible. I've never been treated with disrespect or anything, so I really love going to Galesburg, and they have incredible people there. But some fans will come up to me and go, I know we're like the New Paris of the North. And I'm like, I don't know. I have fun at New Paris, so I must be having fun at Galesburg too. But I get a lot of hugs, when people are walking by, and sometimes for people I'm not even sure who they are, but they definitely appreciate when people come there. So they're awesome. Their fans are awesome. Drivers are awesome. So again, with Galesburg, something to think about with the upcoming events that this weekend, they do have a swap meet that's going on, and also a car show at the same time. It starts at 10 a.m. and it goes until 4. And what I like about their programs is they call it Send It Saturday Night. And so they're pretty consistent. This is their program. This is what they're offering. This is what they're doing. So they have limited late models as their weekly class. That's their fastest group there. Then they have street stocks, and their limited lates are just like everyone else's limited lates in the area, and 40, Kalamazoo, New Paris. So very similar. And sometimes you'll see some of those drivers on those off nights head up. So limited lates, they have pretty good talent in that group too. Street stocks obviously always put on a good show. Doesn't really matter where they are. And so they have a great group of street stocks there too. And then they have also ABC, they call them the Berg stocks. And so again, I know a couple people from New Paris have gone up to race at Galesburg on some off nights when they're doing Night of Destructions and seem to have a good time there. So, but what's not on the schedule yet, as people look forward, is they definitely have Night of Destructions there. That, I mean, if you've ever seen the videos from the Night of Destructions, the McGann group, McGann Motorsports, Tyler and Dale, they put a lot of money into these, and I'm excited. I get to go to Night of Destruction in Galesburg for the first time this year, and they are crazy just from the videos I've seen. So have you ever been to Galesburg yet?
This is another one I haven't been to, and I got no good excuse either. It's just as the same distance as Kalamazoo. I just haven't made it up there. Never heard a bad thing about it. Just haven't made it.
Yeah, the Freedom on July 4th,
Yeah.
Saturday the 4th, the Freedom, that's always a good one to go to. And they have a couple nights where it's features only, and the Freedom is one of those nights. And so they'll start with the C feature in Berg stocks, and they'll work up to the B, and then they'll do the A, and then they'll have street stocks and limited late models, and they usually have a good fireworks show at the end. So the Freedom is something to put on your bucket list if you haven't gone there yet. So I think I'm there 4 times this year, 4 or 5 times. So I'll be there for the Rodney Russell Front Wheel Drive Nationals. A lot of people remember Rodney Russell, and that's one of the nights that I will not be at New Paris, and it's for a completely different reason, right? Like, Rodney was so amazing to people, and he was such a huge supporter of Top Row. And I remember finding out when he passed away, I was at the Kalamazoo Tower, and my head sunk, because he had such a big heart for people and racing. He was a fierce competitor, and but he raced, and that's just something that a lot of people have asked every year for me to come up, and I've always been at Springport, or I've been elsewhere, and it's like, this year that's a for sure. That's on my schedule. That was non-negotiable. I am going to be there for Rodney's family, because again, the Russell family themselves, not the Russells at 40. This is a different Russell branch. That Russell crew, they're pretty awesome, amazing people. So that's definitely something to have on the schedule.
Yeah, I saw Rodney get a win down at Freedom Factory when he raced down there for the National Compact Touring Series show. And so it's cool that they honor him up there at Galesburg. I know that's a big night for those guys up there. So glad the Top Row Racing Media is going to be there to capture the action.
Oh, yeah, and fill the stands. I mean, that's something that, that just, again, that family was pretty incredible. Sure. And I know it's not on the schedule, but I know August 1st, they'll have the Van Avery Memorial again for Adam Van Avery. I don't know if they're going to recognize Brad that same night too, or if they're doing a different night for Brad Van Avery, who we lost over the winter, and another incredible person, who we lost. And Brad was such a huge supporter of Top Row, so I know I'm going to miss him in our conversations that we had. But that's August 1st is a street stock race that they do a pretty good payout for. And so that's a pretty loaded night, because we have the Sizzler that same night. We have a lot of different things going on August 1st, but that's something that obviously is not on the forward-facing schedule, as we only go a couple weeks out. But August 1st is another one. If you're not going to New Paris, definitely go to Galesburg, which is 1 week before Flagger Boy, so it doesn't conflict with any big street stock races. It's before the Rabers Rumble, so that's going to be a pretty big one in the area.
That's good. That's, like I said, I'm just going to have to add this one to my list as well. I wish I had more to add on Galesburg. I just haven't made it. So yeah, don't have the seasoning to sprinkle in here.
Oh no, you gotta make a trip. Like I said, their fan base is just incredible. Like I said, it's kind of funny when I first showed up to Galesburg the first time, and I had so many people telling me that, well, Top Row's here. Yeah, I'm Top Row. I know. I parked here, but they appreciated it so much. And like I said, I'm not there every week, so maybe I miss a lot of things. But anytime that I've been there, their people have been truly incredible. Snails is a part of that. Bob Garrett is part of that. And I remember this past Super Shoot, Bob said, "I have some dates for you," and so he's the first one to even initiate the conversation. And I was already planning to connect with him, but when the promoter reaches out and says, "I have some dates for you," it's like, okay, let's make this happen. So, so again, are you ready for another incredible track to talk about?
We can move on, sure.
All right, so going from the bull ring to the widest, truly the widest 3/8 that's around. It's the old half mile converted to the 3/8. They have they only have about 13 shows this year, but they're packed.
And I don't think a smaller schedule is necessarily a bad thing anymore in the world of racing. So the route we're going, I think a smaller schedule, we're going to start seeing a lot more. But you see, they start off big with their monster truck throwdown on May 2nd. That's an early afternoon show. Get in, get out. Great time with the kids there, absolutely, on May 2nd. Kids love some monster trucks. And then on May 8th, kids also love sprint cars. I'm a big kid that loves sprint cars. Can never go wrong with sprint cars. In addition to their weekly racing, that starts at 7 p.m. on May 8th. Non-wings on May 15th with their weekly racing starting at 7 p.m. And then the Midwest Dirt Compacts come in with an Enduro on May 29th. That's 2 weeks after that. So they're getting a late start here with their compact schedule, but you can see May, even with 4 events, is pretty packed for Hartford.
Yeah, and Tim and Leah do an incredible job. I think they're the longest tenured promoter owner group in the area. I could be wrong. Maybe there's someone else who's been doing a little bit longer, but I'm pretty sure they're the longest tenured. And
sounds right.
And they have, like I said, they just not only do they treat their people right. We had Leah on a few weeks ago who said that they're the Disney World of racing, and their staff. I mean, they have longevity. But at the same time, they've been racers there, and we'll have Tim Dibble on May 4th. So may the 4th be with us. When we have Tim, we're giving him a full hour to be unleashed and talk about all the things he wants to talk about, like we did with Ron Brash the other day. So, Tim's excited for that. But what I really like is that the Great Lakes Super Sprints are coming back a few more times to Hartford this year than they did last year. Last year, they were a little more exploratory and their scheduling and branched out a little bit more, where Hartford didn't have as many dates as they had in the past, but they definitely put on an incredible show at Hartford. And so I'm really excited to see that. And then the Super Trooper Crown Vics. I mean, if you're looking for Crown Vic racing, Hartford, it has the healthiest dose of Crown Vics right now out of all the area tracks. And that's not a knock on any of the tracks. That's just numbers are numbers. And they have, 20 Crown Vics on a normal night. They don't need to have, and their payout is just incredible too. I mean, they, to start some of the races are what some people are winning in a feature. And so they treat their drivers right. Their pit passes are going up a little bit this year, but Tim introduced that, there's going to be a little bit of a deal for those weekly drivers at the end. It's just their costs have gone up. And so to get in, they have to pay a little bit more, but they get like a bonus at the end of the night. So they get a little bit of a payback. And so, so that I know that might shock some people who haven't paid for a pit pass at Hartford in a little bit. But like I said, at the end of the night, you're going to get a nice little bonus. So that $5 is not going to mean anything, at the end of the night, because you'll get a nice bonus from being there and supporting the track. Again, they just have that. And if you've never been to the Race of Doom at the end of the year, which is their last night of destruction, just go. The Race of Doom itself is worth it, but they've done a really nice job. Building some rainouts have impacted them. It seems rain always comes on Friday nights at Hartford and Kalamazoo like last year, but they've created out of that an October night of destruction that used to be like an optional, where now they've done it where it's a Halloween themed, and they do trunk or treating. They do a lot of different things. I like on a normal night, they have a fan zone. So fans who get there early can walk in the pits and see the drivers and do all that without an extra pass. But once it's time, you got to get out. And so they have that fan zone. So again, they just do a really good job there. And their schedule may be small, but it's certainly mighty, especially with the World of Outlaws coming this year.
For sure. I have been to Hartford once. That was for a Midwest Dirt Compact show. And I was surprised how fast it was for my first time there.
Yeah.
front wheel drives were flying around there
Yes.
for being front wheel drives. Obviously, they were moving.
And they'll put 30 front wheel drives out there. I forget what
Yeah,
the one was. I want to say it was 28, but I pretty sure it's almost 30. But some people had issues in their heat races, but you wouldn't even know it. There, I mean, is very few cautions. You know, like that many cars out on the track and very few cautions. So again, you know, they have a lot of talent with those drivers. And yeah, if you've never been to Hartford, definitely go there. I know for World of Outlaw night, Kalamazoo is taking that night off. We have a demolition derby the next day, but we're not going head to head with World of Outlaw. So, in fact, I think Kalamazoo's owner already has a box ready to go, or is trying to get a box at least for the World of Outlaws. So that's going to be the biggest show in town, and you're just never going to go against the World of Outlaws. So, with that, you ready to talk about Kalamazoo?
do it.
All right. So again, Kalamazoo Speedway with their practice starting this Saturday, open practice for all divisions. Whether you plan to be a weekly racer there or not, you can come out, practice, shake down, and see what's going on with the car. I know I've seen a lot of tracks posting videos of cars on the tracks, and they're getting excited for that. So again, April 11th, open practice starts at 1 p.m. I want to say the gates open at 12. And so that'll go for 2 rounds, if I remember seeing the schedule correctly. I believe it ends at 5 o'clock, so they'll rotate through all the different divisions. Again, their weekly classes at Kalamazoo are the limited late models, template late models, which I believe Kalamazoo is the only track in the area who's running templates this year, at least templates consistently. And then street stocks, which if you're disappointed by a street stock feature at Kalamazoo, pulse check time, because they know what they're doing there. They have an elite group. And then they also have ABC front wheel drive racing. So they'll break that down into, you know, the faster cars like Matthew LC Jr., defending champion, Matt LC, Christina Rance, all of them. They'll be Dave Leonard Jr., they'll be the A group, and then you'll have that mix of, you know, just fast enough to sometimes be in the A, but not slow enough to be in the C. So they'll have that B group, which is like a Scott LC, where it's kind of like a Hornet car, but a little souped up. You know, they can do those kind of things. And then the C would be more your traditional, like true Hornet, true stock sort of deal. So they offer a lot of drivers a chance to kind of fit where you can. And sometimes you have drivers like Gunnar Gale is one who's kind of ran the gamut. He's been an A car and a B car, and so they average it on points. How many features did you do? So if you do more B features than A feature, then your B feature car, B points and all that. So it gets a little tricky when you're trying to track the points, but the drivers really know what they're doing. So again, that's ABC there. And then obviously the Intimidator 100 kicking off the season again, 7:30 p.m., April 17th. We have quite a list that's already building. You know, Tyler Rourke, that'll be an outlaw race night for him. I think Corey Pressler will be up there in the 22. We can ask Rich Bull next Monday when he's on at 8 o'clock on the Monday Night Rewind. And then we have Adam Terry, a whole bunch of people who are coming. Racer X, who's a big supporter of Top Row, always appreciate him. Phil Bozell, Bryce Bozell will be in the Outlaw. So again, a stack field already growing. And then Autism Awareness Night. One thing to note for Kalamazoo fans on April 24th, that is, if you're Alamo Township, that is free entry for Alamo Townships with an ID that shows you live in Alamo Township. So definitely take advantage of that. Kenny Wright has been feverishly working to get sponsors for the front wheel drive. That's they do the Dare to Be Different race for Kenny Wright. He's a big proponent of autism awareness, and so they'll have that night. And I see that I spelled awareness wrong. I forgot an E there. So that's incredible. You look at graphics so many times, and then you're like, and now I see the misspelling. So that's going to annoy me for the rest of the night, but I'll get over it. I'm obviously human, and this was not AI generated. So I made a mistake, and now that's going to frustrate me that I just now noticed. And maybe if I didn't point it out, no one else would have noticed it, but maybe somebody did. But because there's a lot of letters there. But anyway, that's going to be season opener night for Kalamazoo. So while we open the season on April 17th, all of our weekly classes will be debut on April 24th. So just know the Intimidator Night's a little bit of a different setup. And then May 1st is also a Fast Friday weekly racing. So and I know Donnie Ritter, he did an incredible job of building the schedule this year to balance it out where we're focusing on weekly classes and doing a lot for our weekly drivers. And we have sprinkled in traveling series. So we'll have tri-state sprints there this year. We'll have MCR Dwarfs there this year. I think the vintage modifieds come for one show. I'll have to double check again. I know it's usually a staple, but maybe this year they're not. I know they're going to New Paris for sure, but I can't remember if Kalamazoo, if they got a date or not. But definitely 3 outlaw races. Modifieds return V8 night. New Paris has a V8 night, and that works really well for them. So Kalamazoo's like, we kind of like that idea. So, they're doing a V8 night where modifieds will be there, and Hot Shoe 100. The breaking news over the winter that's leaving Owasso and coming to Kalamazoo.
Yeah, Kalamazoo is one of my favorite tracks in the country. I'll be there for the Intimidator on the 17th and a lot more after that. Autism Awareness Night is a great event they do every year. I love that race, the Dare to Be Different race, as you said. Yeah, I love Kalamazoo. They got the best concessions, I think, in short track racing. I could go on and on about how great I think Kalamazoo Speedway is, but very much looking forward to the 17th and my first time up there this year.
Oh yeah, and I'll be easy to find. I'm on the roof, so that's my parking spot that I get to experience it all. They moved me up to the roof a few years ago, and at first I was a little hesitant because I'm like, I'm not a big fan of that. Right? That's just not my thing, but it's like, I'll climb up there. But once I was up there, I'm like, okay, I'm not moving from this spot ever again. Even on the winter days when we've had winter races and it's like 0 degrees and blowing snow and everything, and I regret that decision where I'm like,
Yeah.
I could go down a few more feet and it would be at least a little bit warmer. But the view up there, and it's mostly unobstructed, where when I was down in that little platform where the announcer is, the tower gets in the way. And so I don't have the obstruction of the trailers like the flag hand does. That sometimes those trailers can get in the way, but up top we have a mostly unobstructed view. So it makes it for our race director, it makes it a lot easier to make calls. Again, that doesn't mean we're perfect. But I don't know anywhere that's perfect, but it's a good view for us to mostly see. There's still blind spots, but the roof is just high enough and the platform on top, so you'll be able to easily spot me on the roof next week. I hope it's sunny.
And my favorite spot at Kalamazoo, I think it might be the most underrated place to sit anywhere, is those new pit stands that they put in. As high as those go, sitting at the top of those pit stands, you got the whole track right in front of you with the corner view. Absolutely perfect place to watch a race.
And I think if you're at the tippy top of those stands, I believe you're higher than me. If I visualized it correctly, I think you actually elevate higher than what I am along the front stretch. And so what I've done some drifting events there, which drifting's not there this year. They're moving around more, but when I've done some drifting events, I've gone over to that turn 2 spot and I'm like, ooh, it's an awkward recording angle. So I don't mind it for like drifting because they do all the coursing and everything, but I probably wouldn't do like a normal race night there. Sometimes I've thought about it. Sometimes I've thought about putting one of my GoPro cameras up top there and letting it just record the whole thing. But the one night I tried that, people were playing around with it, and I'm like,
that's what I worry about. Yeah,
like you can't just respect that. So I didn't do that again. And it's hard to please. I mean, I don't think they were being malicious at all.
Yeah,
it's just right there. It's easy. So I wasn't mad at them. It's just like, but stop.
Yeah.
I didn't put it there for you to have faces. Although now that's eligible, I'll use that one, so that's kind of your own risk too. But yeah, definitely Kalamazoo is a place to check out on a Friday.
And as we keep talking about these tracks and the ABC front wheel drives, as a front wheel drive driver, I just want to say how big of a fan of that format I am myself. Being a low horsepower front wheel drive, it's nice that you can drop down into that B class or even the C class and still be able to be competitive, even if you can't necessarily run with the big boys, so to speak. So I really like those. And I'm becoming a fan of limited late models. I really like seeing the unique builds that some people have going in the limiteds.
I tell you what, if my sources are correct, and by sources I mean also Facebook, that limited class this year at Kalamazoo, holy smokes. There's some drivers who are moving over from the template late model. Some are going to still do double duty, but some are moving over to the limited lates, and holy cow. I think the template late model class might be the most open it's been, with some retirements with Kenny Head and Billy Shannon and Donnie Bress. And certainly they are people we're going to miss. But this has kind of been a year of transition where we're getting a lot of new blood in the templates and some extra new blood over in the limiteds. I won't spoil everybody's debut. Stay tuned, but there's some top drivers who are moving over, and I tell you what, I think potentially for weekly night Kalamazoo could have up to 20, if not more. Maybe. I don't want someone to quote me and run off and be like, it was promised, but if the sources are correct and the registration is promising and the rumors are promising, there's a potential that could be a dynamite class. It is, I mean, it's already incredible. You got Bryce Bozell in there. You got Jared Blanchard in there. You got so many incredible drivers in there. Logan came up a few years ago and he also races at New Paris. He's done an incredible job. I think Bug has talked about coming up there consistently. You have like already top tier drivers, and you had drivers who were getting wet last year, like Noah. He was fresh to it and did a nice job up there. And so, there's the potential there, but if the all of it comes together, I think that could be a class, like a breakout class to watch. I think what people envisioned could finally come true. And again, it's not that it's been a lack of anything before, but if you can get 20 on there, and I think one night we had 22 for a special night, like, oh wow, this is fun. Yeah. And starting street stocks, you have competition that night, which that says a lot in itself, because I think the street stock race in Kalamazoo is number one. And that's not a knock on anyone else. I think everyone at their home tracks probably says the same thing. But, when you have 6 or 7 or 8 defending champions from around the area in one feature, come on. And that's on a weekly night almost. So again, that's pretty credible up there. So I'm excited for that. But another class or another track that I'm excited for is New Paris, where again I get to be there mostly this year. So I'll hand over the talking to you.
Yeah, and talking about street stocks, New Paris is the perfect place to move on to next. They're still a couple weeks away, or next weekend, I should say, is their first night with the Night of Destruction. They always put on great shows for Night of Destruction. I've made it to one. I'm not even a big Night of Destruction fan, and the one New Paris Night of Destruction I went to was a really good show. So I highly encourage everybody to make it out on the 18th if you can. And then racing starts on the 25th. I like their early start time too. Even on Saturdays, they start at 5 p.m. I'm a big fan of that at New Paris. May 2nd, Cabin Fever V8 Classic Trifecta race, also starting at 5 p.m., and then a regular show on May 9th. Starting the season off hot at New Paris. But I got to tell you, I went for the first time last year, and the race I'm looking most forward to getting back to this year is the Flagger Boy at New Paris. I had such a blast last year. 50-something street stocks, I believe, and you probably had 30 guys that could win the race. That's exactly what you want as a race fan going to the racetrack. It's that little kid feeling that you don't necessarily get all the time anymore. That's the feeling that I had of Flagger Boy last year. Really looking forward to getting back to that again. But pack schedule at New Paris, starting off hot. That's my one I'm looking forward to. How about you, Lewis? What about you at New Paris? I know you're spending a lot of time there this year.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing that I love Springport and I miss Springport, but at the same time, when I got invited to come down from Mike Wardinger to come down to New Paris and do the Sizzler, which was huge. I'd never been to the Sizzler before, and do that. It was, that was pretty fun. And then it just so happened the following week, Chris, the owner, Chris Mandel, he came up to me after Sizzler and he said, "Hey, are you available for Flagger Boy next week?" And I said, "No, Springport has." I literally drove up to Springport and it rained and they canceled. And so I called Andy Lynn and I said, "Is there room for me tonight?" And I made it down there just in time to put enough onboard cameras and climb the roof and record the night. And so my first Flagger Boy was 2023. And that's an event I fell in love with. So I definitely love Flagger Boy. I love the twin setup because you have 32, 34, 36, depending on what number they pick. You have so many drivers. And again, you talk about an elite lineup at Kalamazoo. Go to New Paris that night because a lot of those Kalamazoo cars are going to be at New Paris. And that's where this year it's tough because you have the Hot Shoe 100, which is a modified centric race. I mean, let's be real, it's a modified centric race that's at Kalamazoo, going on the same night. And I know they will have street stocks as a support class, but I mean, Flagger Boy, they're going to have street stocks from all over. And they're, Kalamazoo's best will probably be down there at Flagger Boy because again, you have so much more on the line in terms of winning and the potential to win. You can qualify 16th, and and be in a race, but you can qualify 20th and still be in the A feature. And so that just offers so many opportunities to so many drivers. So I know it's an expensive night for them that night. That's a really big payout in just one class, but you're not going to find more talent located in one spot other than Raybur's Rumble and Kalamazoo. But when it comes to shoot stock racing, I mean, there's outside hitters who come from Ohio. Some of them you'll see racing this weekend at M40, which I know we'll get there shortly. But you're going to have outside hitters come in, champions from all over. I mean, they come from everywhere.
Yeah.
And so that's my favorite. But as you mentioned, the Night of Destructions, that group down there, I cannot sing their praises enough. The racing drivers down there for the Night of Destruction. I know some fans don't always like a Night of Destruction, right? And I know some weekly racers or racers in general aren't always appreciative of them. They know why tracks do them, but that group down there, they really care about that track, and they have no issues, carrying the flag of New Paris and promoting it and promoting the weekly racing too. You got Spencer Wardinger, who does front wheel drive racing, who will go race a Night of Destruction. You have Aaron Hapner, the Shark, who we'll have on this coming Monday with, or no, not this coming Monday, the following Monday, on the 20th. He went to Hornet Racing and tried that. So, they definitely care about that place. So if you've never been to a Night of Destruction at New Paris, come out. Weekly racing. I'm excited for the 4-cylinder class. They have limited late models too, which they were the first. To bring them back. They did that a couple years ago, and then in 2024 is when everyone else got a good sniff of that and said, let's do that too. And so that helped New Paris, because that meant there's more in the area. And so you got an incredible talent there with that. But the 4-cylinder class, I'm excited to see how that blends this year. They took their outlaw front wheel drives and their mini stocks and they put them together, which is similar to what M40 did with their extreme stocks. And so I'm excited to see how that develops there, because I don't know what to expect, but I like that. It's kind of an unknown. So I'm going to see how that comes together. And then their Hornets, their nights of those Hornets put on like an incredible where they'll go green checkered. And sometimes it's crazy where you're like, oh, here comes the yellow flag, and then all of a sudden they're still racing. And and they have, Summer Allen is someone who I enjoy watching down there. And then you have Jeffrey Smith, and then you have, I don't want to start naming names because then I'm going to forget people, but Kevin Grubb, senior there, you just have an incredible group of Hornet drivers who they know what they're doing. So, and a couple of them have come up to Kalamazoo and won some of our bigger races, and like the B features, John, did so, and then Bailey did one night. So again, they have a great group down there too. So if you don't know a place to go on a Saturday night, or you want to change it up and travel around, definitely New Paris is a destination to come out to. Chris and Tracy have put on tons of money over the last couple of years. I know it doesn't always look obvious, and some of it is more behind the scenes kind of things, but and some of it is like when they turn on the lights, you'll know they're brighter.
Sure.
There's a rumor a few weeks ago, well, it's so dark down there. I don't know when the last time you were there, but it's pretty bright. So, which is new. I mean, they just did that, but again, come out and Cabin Fever. Ronnie Maynard in that modified, he won last year on the Cabin Fever night with the Trifecta Series. Obviously, he's going to be one to watch. And then Logan and Austin Maynard put on a 20-lap battle side by side for the most part for about 8 minutes of video that you just sit there and you go, how are we so lucky? And especially watching them two battle. Logan had never won a feature at New Paris, if I had my stats correct, where Austin, he's won the Flagler Boys, he's done it. And but Logan got him a couple times last year. So so that was pretty fun to watch too. So definitely New Paris is a spot to be this year if you're looking to travel around, because I know there's a lot of Saturday tracks.
Just speaking to their weekly racing, our race team, Davis Family Racing, we went down there for the first time in a long time, and New Paris has always had a bit of a reputation, we'll say. And many years ago, the previous time that we'd gone there, we'd had a bad experience, so it took us a while to get back. We had an off night where we weren't going to make it to M40. It just worked out that we were going to try New Paris, and we had such a blast our first night back in New Paris in a long time. I can't say enough good things about how the program went that night. We're definitely planning on coming back a few times this year. We're front wheel drive, so we got our class combined with the mini stocks. We're part of that 4-cylinder class that you spoke
Yep.
on. But I know New Paris has definitely circled a couple times, at least for us this year.
Oh, absolutely. And while we have 2 more tracks left that are coming up, real quick, if we want to remind people um, the throttle response, what short track events are you looking forward to most in 2026? I would be remiss to, I almost forgot, but I saw that we have Michelle, who's with us in the chat from the mini wedges, and they have a test ride this Sunday at Kalamazoo Speedway, the mini wedges, family fun mini wedges with Kenny Head and his group, where people could come out and try that. So I almost forgot that. So I saw Michelle was in the chat. So I definitely want to mention that because the mini wedges, the mini wedge schedule is not on here yet, but that's definitely next week. We'll start getting mini wedges as we change it up. And pull in other events. So definitely something to think about for mini wedges next week. But for this Sunday, they have that trial ride. So definitely head out there. More information on the Kalamazoo Mini Wedge page. But again, our throttle response, what short track events are you looking forward to most? And what made me think about is they have a mini shoe that they do for the mini wedges. So that's a pretty incredible thing that they do there. But we have 2 tracks left, everyone. So if you want to keep in the chat, answer that question, we'll head over to M40. Another one that I know we're pretty excited for because Drew Jack, he's been in the comments and he said New Paris has VRA this year, but Kalamazoo is not. I couldn't remember if they landed on a scheduled date or not. And he said 16 limiteds. I'm assuming that's what the 16 for. 16 limited so far. And I personally think we might be able to get up to 20, maybe not every single night, but many nights. And I'm hoping for that because that'll be an incredible race. But speaking of incredible, this weekend at Russell's M40 Speedway is their kickoff. They have a mental health awareness night, and they're also doing Erica's PJs, where if you bring in a set of PJs or more that you get for general admission only, you get $5 off. So it is a $20 ticket. But if you donate PJs, it's a cause that they're doing for Erica's PJs. If you donate towards that, you can get $5 off with that donation for $15 adult general admission. So that's something to think about. But they'll also be doing a thing for Woody. For a lot of people who may or may not know, Michael Wood, he has Woody's photography. Galesburg has been his home place, but he's been all over. He's been Springport, Kalamazoo. He's been in the hospital for several months, and obviously those get expensive. And with his daughter at home and everything, there's just a lot going on. So they're going to be doing a donation drive in the stands during like an intermission. Drivers are going to come up and do that. That's also for April 11th. They have the Ohio Wheelman who's coming up. They'll be recognizing Chris Mize, who is a big supporter. Drew and him have an incredible relationship. They lost Chris, I want to say it was last year. And so they're doing the Chris Mize 30 for the Midwest Compacts Dirt. But we do have some national compact cars who are coming over to race on asphalt like they normally do, but they're going to race under the dirt rules with DOT tires and all that. So again, those rules are on nationalcompacts.com. So Ohio Wheelman Super Stocks will be there. They're making a trip. They're bringing a pretty good group. Then you'll have, like I said, the Midwest Compacts. You'll have the lawnmower racing. That is kind of a tradition at M40. They do a nice job there. You'll have the juice boxes, and they'll pull some kids from the stance race to the juice boxes. And then also the Crown Vic race, which I'm looking forward to just not only being the primary sponsor of that, but I'm excited to see how many Crown Vics we can get. I think we're about 15 street stocks right now. I think it's 25. Wait, what is racing on radials? Oh, I hope I said DOT right. I think it's DOT tires.
Yeah, you got it right. You're good.
I read the comment at first. It wasn't making sense, Drew. But anyways,
Drew, it's the Midwest Dirt Compacts are racing on radials at M40.
Yeah. And so anyway, so I'm excited for the Crown Vics, but we have about 25, I want to say at last count, that Drew Jack was saying for the Midwest Compact. And so, like I said, some of his national compact guys will be coming over to race Midwest, which they've done before when they've done the dirt race at Kalamazoo, that they a lot of those guys will cross over, but they have to fit the dirt rule. So definitely nationalcompacts.com for that. And so that's this April 11th. And then they have some test and tune. If you want to rent out the track, they just posted that yesterday. If people want to rent that out, definitely get a hold of M40. April 25th, they have the season opener which they have the Michigan Monster Outlaws, Factory Fords, which the nose piece will have to look different. The 5-star bodies is acceptable for this weekend. But if you're a 5-star nose guy, you got to trim the bottom according to Chris Milligan, who is their tech guy. He did a video on that the other day, and so did Johnny Russell. So that will be for their next race, Factory Ford. So the rules this week a little different than their normal night. Road Warriors, which are their Hornet-y kind of cars, and then the Stream Stocks, which we talked about with 4 cylinders, like what they're also doing at New Paris, where they're mini stocks and outlaw front wheel drives as one class. Then Mottville Stocks is a throwback to Mottville, and then Street Stocks. So again, that's their normal Saturday night, and then their first autograph night is on May 9th. So, and I know their autograph nights are always incredible, so definitely something to check out on a Saturday. Like I said, there's so many tracks on a Saturday. There's a buffet for everyone. And this year, one thing that they're doing, they tested Night of Destructions last year, and that was a pretty awesome thing that they did. And now this year they're going to do them on Sundays, where they're calling them the Day of Reckoning. So I'm excited for that. And for anybody who loves Night of Destructions, on toproacingmedia.com, I posted a story under the news. If you go to media, click news, scroll down a little bit. If you like Night of Destructions, you literally can race almost every weekend this year and do a Night of Destruction somewhere. So there's like 14 Night of Destructions in this area. So, and Russell's will be doing 3 of them. So I know you've been to M40. You were there for Reveal the Hammer, which they'll be back this year. So and they'll have Judgment Day Street Stocks, their race that's been pretty fun. So what stands out to you when you think about the schedule for this year?
My favorite race on the M40 schedule, we participated in this last year when the National Compact Touring Series came through. They do Down Syndrome Awareness Night in August.
Yes.
We had a crew chief assigned to us through the organization that the series works with, Zach, and he spent the day with us at M40, and that was such a special day. Really, really fun to do. I'm glad that the Touring Series does that, and I'm glad that the track works with them on that. That was such a cool event. I'm really looking forward to doing that again this year. But as you mentioned, M40 has a packed schedule. We'll be racing up there a ton this year with my family. That's where it'll be our home base. But yeah, the Reveal the Hammer show, Judgment Day, the Day of Reckoning, they're putting together a great tradition of events up there at M40.
Well, and what I really like about M40 is you know what to expect when you get there, right? And their whole mission of make racing great again, which we learned a few weeks ago, they trademarked that, right? So they own the trademark.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And they really live it, right? And so the Russells, they're doing an incredible job there. You know, when I did a spotlight a few weeks ago on Megan, you know, I know nobody got mad at it. I was waiting for that line of like the Grim Reaper, because I mean, let's be real, that's what it was. And I know that's sometimes salty to people because they don't, you know, we don't ever want to acknowledge that we almost lost a track. And but it had tough times, and that wasn't for lack of effort from people. There are people in its past who put a lot of effort towards it. It's just for whatever reason the stars did not align, and so you can't fault people in the past. There's plenty of people in the past who did their best to make it work, but the Russells have really come in and they created a canvas that they've painted their story with. And so again, it's, you know, this is now year 3, almost full year 3. They started in July 2023. So, you know, they've had a couple seasons under their belt now. So now they really can start doing their thing. And you know, and that's nice when you get to that point where you know what to expect. Fans know what to expect, and that's why their rules are the way they are, whether people like them or not. You know, it's their playground, just like any track. Every track has a rule. You know, you got to fit the rule if you want to be in that sandbox. And they know what they want their fans to expect, and because it's what they expect. And so and they're former racers. You know, Johnny used to do it, Bill used to do it, legend, right? And so they know the gray areas too. They know what people look for, and so you know, they know what product they want to put out there, and so far the proof is in the pudding. So you can't say they're doing wrong.
And they've done a really good job just building their own unique brand and flavor to the track up there. I mean, they got Frank Gasco as the announcer up there. I think he does a great job hosting the show. I've told him that myself. We've never raced there without either Johnny or Bill coming around and shaking our hand, thanking us for coming. I think that goes a long way for racers. I know it does for me. So Yeah, they've done a really good job doing their own thing up there, as you said, and it's only going to get better, it seems like. So looking forward to another year at M40. I'll be there a lot. So
Oh yeah, and just let people know we're almost to our last track. So again, you have time to put some answers in the comments. Again, this episode a little longer just because we're also previewing not only what's coming up, but we're talking about specifically events that we're looking forward to at each track. So just our goal is to have anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. So for people watching, that just kind of keep in mind that it won't be as long going forward, just because we're trying to pack in a lot for this one to kind of also preview to our own question. We're answering as we go. The throttle response I'll show one more time before we go to Shady Hill. What short track events are you looking forward to? So when we're going through each track, we're giving our answers, what we're looking forward to. And in the comment section, we're looking forward to what you are. So each episode on Thursdays, we'll have a question of the night. And so that might not mean every track that we're answering that question. But tonight we're taking advantage of, like, this is a preview. Racing's almost here, so we just wanted to get that out there. And again, I just want to remind on time that the goal of this night will be a little bit shorter than on Mondays. So are you ready to talk about Shady Hill?
let's do it.
All right. So again, Shady Hill.
I don't think we're going to dwell on this one for too long, as neither of us have been there. Is this my track or your track? Did I just steal your thunder there?
No, you didn't steal my thunder. We're throttling up, remember? But
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
so let's kind of explain to people why we're including like a Shady Hill. In the future, we'll include like a Kankakee Speedway and a Grundy County Speedway and maybe an Angola Speedway. Is that one thing that Buju and I were talking about? And I have aired so many times in this, where when I think of dirt track racing, I talk about Hartford, and there's Butler. And obviously we didn't have Butler on this tonight, but we will in the future. Again, this is a starting point, a base point for us. That's where we want to know what you want us to cover, what tracks you're interested in seeing. Again, our goal is to get fans in the stands wherever you pick. On Friday night, if it's Hartford or Kalamazoo or Corrigan Oil, go for it. If it's a Saturday, obviously we have a lot of tracks on a Saturday between New Paris and Russell's and Owasso, who's not on here. They have their own show, but we'll include Owasso here on nights. And Kankakee on Friday if you're in that area, Grundy County if you're in that area, so Slinger if you're on a Sunday. So again, we're just kind of baselining it here. But one of the things that I've aired is I forget about Shady Hill, in Madeireville, Indiana, which is Northwest Indiana. It's like not that far from a lot of places, but I think a lot of people, they have an incredible following on social media. And Chris Goodacre is a photographer there, and he does a great job with photos. And if it weren't for Chris Goodacre, I probably wouldn't have known about Shady Hill. So again, that's why we included Shady Hill, because we wonder too, how many other people probably forget that it's there.
Absolutely. As big a race fan as I am, it's tucked right over there, and I literally forget it exists, and that's 100% on me. It's another one I should have got to. You can see they start their season off hot too with the White Lightning Showdown on May 2nd. It's just a track that I've missed. The Dirt Olympics, that sounds fun. Don't know what it is though. I'd like to go to it. But yeah, Shady Hill's another one I need to get to. Didn't want to dwell on this one too long, as I said. Neither one of us have been there.
Yeah.
And as Lewis touched on, we just want to highlight the entire area, touch on everything, and even beyond the area sometimes, maybe even.
Yep. So I know Kankakee, they have a new promoter, right? So as you talk about that, they have a new promoter this year. Billy stepped down, and so someone stepped up. Finally, that was a saga almost all winter. They have open practice this Sunday, and then they have their first race next Friday, the 17th. So, as we're thinking about this, it's like Kankakee, we might have people who've never heard of Kankakee who might be like, oh, I'm not doing anything on a Friday, and Hartford maybe isn't racing, but I'm a dirt fan. Well, Kankakee can be an answer, right? It's not that far away. And I think they're going to have streaming again this year through their Kankakee TV deal that they have. And they have, I think, super late models are making a return, if I saw right. They had pro late models before. But Grundy does an incredible job. I grew up growing to Grundy. And so, again, we're just kind of, each week we'll probably have a did you know kind of track, just to kind of introduce to the people. Like I said, Shady Hill, I've aired so many times when I don't even think about it. And then it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's there. It's alive.
You mentioned in Grundy, another big event to answer our throttle response questions, the Bahama Brackets. We went
Yeah.
with that as a group last year. And man, that was a fun weekend. I encourage everybody, and it's in October. Almost nobody's racing at that point. If you can make it, if it doesn't clash with your schedule and you can make it out to the Bahama Brackets, man, that's a fun weekend that I highly recommend at Grundy.
Oh yeah, and like I said, I grew up going to Grundy a little bit. We did Grundy on Friday nights and LaSalle Speedway on Saturday nights when we moved down to Joliet, Crest Hill area, and they do a nice job at Grundy. They've done a lot of investments at the fairgrounds there with the speedway, and so it's a big track. They have template style late models and super late models, so they call them mid Americans down there. And then they have the super late models, which if you go to Slinger, look very similar. They don't have the wedge nose like this part of Indiana and all that. That part of Illinois is the super template style. So, so again, if you've never been to Shady Hill like Buju and I, that was our track that we wanted to highlight just for people to know, like, hey, it's there, especially if you're a dirt fan racer. So, again, something out there. But yeah, Grundy, I've never been to the Bahama Brackets, even though when I was in Chicago, I think we went to Rockford once, but it wasn't for the Bahama Brackets. But obviously, when we lost Rockford, Grundy thankfully took that over. I know some tracks in Wisconsin took on some other things for them, so that some of those Rockford traditions could continue. So, so again, that was something that if you've never been in Grundy on a Friday night, it's something to go do.
I raced
So,
there with the front wheel drive for brackets, and it's a quick track, it's a fun track. They put on a good show down there. Like I said, we had a blast for brackets. Nick Stremme was in the chat earlier. He won the A bracket there last year, so great
yep.
time down at Grundy.
And was that Nick's first time down to the Bahama Brackets? I can't remember if that's like first or second. A long time. I'd have to remember.
Yeah, I'm not positive on that. James Binkley in the chat. Hey, you fixed your light. That made me laugh.
Yeah, and then I misspelled something. So but I did type the Buju, and only one misspelling and all the things that I typed. So, but that's been bothering me since then because that's one thing I dislike the most. But yes, I have the light on, so the light's on, but I misspelled something. So I don't know. That feels like a loss still. But
Lights
anyway,
on, but nobody's home, folks, huh?
home. With my middle initials, sometimes I had a teacher who'd be like, "Does that mean you're empty-headed?" And I'm like, "Yeah, probably." So there's a lot of knowledge up in there that's probably not used. It doesn't get me Jeopardy questions right, but it gets me a lot of other things where I remember the most random stuff. I'm going to check the comments really quick to make sure that we didn't miss anything. Tina Lewis won a championship at Galesburg. Josh Hattler, he was in the comments. He's been a champion before. I want to make sure that we didn't miss anything. So again, this is a start point. So I want to put this up one more time before we get off. This show's a little longer because again, we were answering the question as we went through each track. What short track events are you looking forward to most in 2026? So again, starting next week, this is not probably going to be as long. We're really aiming for a 45-minute, especially since we keep your attention so long on a Monday that, that's guest centric. This is going to be more informative. We may have guests on from time to time, just not like an informative thing for like, who are you and all that. But hey, Tim, Leah, you have World of Outlaws. Let's talk about that. Or, hey, Chris Tracy, you have Flagger Boy. Let's talk about that. And only that. That's what they would be on the highlight
right.
as we bring guests on. So Monday will be a little different. Monday, guest centric. Thursdays are going to be looking forward, some storyline. But again, we took advantage of answering the preseason question of what are you looking forward to? So again, 45 minutes is our goal. If you saw a track on here or you didn't see a track on here or a series, like I know mini wedges, I said, we'll include mini wedges starting next week, but they certainly have a try ride this Sunday at Kalamazoo. Mini wedges will be on here. MCR, apologize. MCR dwarf cars will be on here. I was talking with the Midwest Truck Series over in Wisconsin. We'll have some of their events on here because they're looking for more exposure from the media side. And so I reached out to them. They'll be on our show on the 20th at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock their time. So we'll get some Wisconsin up in here. So again, Slinger will be on here. Other tracks we will filter in. Some tracks will filter out. Like maybe next week we might not have Shady Hill on here. We might rotate, a track, especially with Kankakee coming up. Grundy coming up. So again, if you see a track that you like down here that you want to see more of, obviously, we'll do our home base ones. But if there wasn't a track, email us. If you're the series owner or the promoter or the track owner or whatever, say, hey, we'd like to be included in this, and send that out. Comment, tell us what tracks you want to see. This is, again, our graphics. Our goal is to give you an idea of what's coming up, what's happening in the area. As events drop off, we'll add the next. It'll be like a month at a glance. And so, again, that's just something for tonight, just so people know that, hey, it's already past 7:45.
Yeah.
We were answering the question.
We were answering the question. We were running down the full schedule. It'll be more of a this is what's coming this weekend preview as the show goes on. We're kind of previewing the full season. We're rolling into the season here. And it's the first episode. So we're figuring it out. And we'll wrap around what's going on in the area, talk about some news and some winners and some stuff like that as the show moves on too. It's not just going to be us throwing information at you. It's going to be a fun show as we figure it out. So give us some time. We'll get there. But I think we had a pretty good start tonight getting through the entire area of schedules. I don't think that's too shabby in an hour and 6 minutes, Lewis.
Oh, no. And we had a chance to dissect each schedule a little bit too, right? Even some of the
and track.
Aren't here yet. But again, definitely, let us know tracks you want to see, tracks you want to know about, series you want to know about, things you want us to highlight. Like Buju said, we'll talk about some storylines going in, especially, coming out of the Intimidator. What are some things that we noticed that could help define outlaw late model racing and super late model racing in the area? Especially if they dive into the Reveal the Hammer series, which we'll we'll talk about Reveal the Hammer. So again, I'm really excited. I'm ready for green flag laps. I'm ready to see circle racing. Enduro racing is fun and chaotic, and but it's like, okay, time for some street stocks. Time for 60 degrees comes, like, okay, time to be at the track. So
two more sleeps. I don't work tomorrow. I don't have anything in between me and a racetrack. I know we're going to be at different racetracks, but we're both going to be at a racetrack, and that's what's important. Damn, I'm excited. Pardon my French. Damn, I'm excited to go back to the racetrack. It's been a long time.
Regulated, so you're good. But we're not SEC regulated yet. But,
yeah, that's right. There you go.
Know. Hey, as long as we don't do things like NIPSCO, right? Just things that could be the question of the year.
We could talk about Cletus before we leave.
You can go down that rabbit hole.
No, I'll leave it alone. I can't.
Wrench.
Yeah. I got the people fired up about Cletus already. I like Cletus, for the record. I like Cletus.
You're going down the hole.
No, I like Cletus. I'll leave it at that. I like Cletus.
There you go. But Bill Russell, he got on here. Obviously, someone who's been pretty supportive of Top Row and Buju. I know he follows you too. Every track was talked about, and that's our goal, Bill. And so everybody knows. And we want fans in the comments. The comments section the other day with Ron Brash was just incredible to watch. I mean, people telling stories and remembering things. And so that's where we want it interactive. We want you guys commenting with us. We'll include you in the conversation. I kind of think like Busted Open Radio. If you listen to Busted Open, it's, although Dave LaGreca does not always do very well of taking calls from the listeners, and we obviously don't have a call center to do that, but comments are where we can do that. And so we definitely want to bring people in. Drew Jack says Kenny Wallace is winning the 500 tomorrow. So Kenny Wallace made a nice little post because people already talk about rain. So let's do this little shout out. Okay, let me get on my soapbox. You opened up the Pandora's box the other day.
You get yourself in trouble. I did it on my own personal account. You do it on live.
So speaking of Kenny Wallace, last year he did an incredible live video. This is the soapbox moment. He did an incredible live video about rain. Because what happens, I mean, the South Bend Cubs, they got annihilated with their whole rain stuff. And I felt so bad for them because sometimes things are just not within people's control, right? And maybe people think it's within their control, but they also don't own $1 million baseball fields and stadium and all these other things, right? So anyways, the area tracks have weather apps. They use those weather apps. They also have contacts at the news stations to talk to meteorologists directly to see what they're thinking. At some point this year, a track is going to have to cancel because of rain. They don't need you in the comment section telling them that it's going to rain. As Drew Jack would say, it is our job to promote until there's no time to promote. So we're going to promote until we cancel. And then when we cancel, hold on, folks, right? We don't need to annihilate the comment section and ripping apart these tracks because Mother Nature decided to rain on your fun for a night. There's always next week. Hopefully. God willing, the creek don't rise. There's, literally if it's raining, the creek don't rise.
Yeah.
But, like we don't need to see the comment section of, well, my radar says it's going to rain. Nobody cares about your radar because they probably have the same radar that they're looking at too. And I can promise you, being as part of these discussions, Leah Dibble, she called me, is at Springport, and they had that huge night of destruction that night. And she called me and she said, I know you pay attention to these things, and if your savings account was on the line, and she knows my savings account is equal to $0, by the way, so I can't lose money because there's no money to lose. But if your savings account line, would you race tonight? And I said, based on everything I can see and tell, I would do it. And they had an incredible night. But there are other times where other people have asked, and I'm like, it's not worth the risk. And I can tell you, last year, Kalamazoo drivers, some got frustrated because we showed up, and Donnie and them, they want to race. They're racers. They want to race. Everybody wanted to race. We all were there. We even got cars on the track. And then guess what? It rained. And it looked promising, and then it would rain, and it looked promising, and it would rain. And there's actually a couple people who still owe us $100, by the way, too. I do have screenshot receipts, but who said it wouldn't rain. Well, guess what, people? You still owe us $100 because it rained, and we had to cancel. And it is frustrating for drivers, and I get it. But Kalamazoo gave it a go multiple times last year, got cars on the track, had hot laps, almost got to qualifying, and then so don't annihilate the tracks because they are doing their best with the information they have. And we all want to be at the track, I promise you. But don't rip them apart if they have to post the inevitable, sorry, we're canceled. They still have to pay their insurance payment. They still have to pay their water payment unless they have well. They have to pay their electric payment. They still have to do all these things. They didn't make money that night, but they still lost money by not opening. So, and it takes about $15,000 to $20,000 to open a gate before they even sell the ticket. That's food prep, that's food ordering, all these things. And so just Drew Jack, shame on you. You brought up Kenny Wallace, right? But Kenny did such an incredible job last year where he said, if you think it's going to rain, fans, you're not going anyways. So why are you coming and going, this track always cancels, I'm not going now? He said you weren't going anyways. And that's probably true. But it's so much easier to go on Facebook and think that we actually care about your comment. Yeah. And that's not saying like our comments we care about, right? But when it rains and you cancel, we don't care. We're just
you're not breaking news to the track promoter that there may be rain in the forecast.
It gets so stressful because God forbid we have to cancel and we get ripped apart. And it's not just us, it's other tracks, right? But it's like
you can't win. If you cancel early, that you didn't even try. If you get cars in the track and get them on the track, why'd you bring us here? It was gonna rain. So there's no winning. I know where you're coming from.
So this was not a soapbox thing. I went like a few minutes on that, but I just that is so. I not only South Bend Cubs, that I just saw how much they got annihilated online. I mean, just ridiculous. Just remember NIPSCO. That's what you need to do. As long as you don't do NIPSCO things, then everything should be okay.
That's a general rule to live by. Is don't do NIPSCO.
Don't do NIPSCO.
Drew in the chat says blame Buju. I'm fine with that.
But yes. So if there's rain, don't tell the track. They know that it might rain, but their job is to promote until they're not promoting. So just know that if they post an event flyer, they know there's a chance that they may not race that, but they have to continue to promote and if they race, get as many fans as they can, because they're already losing that night. They've already, they're not going to break even. So, and we have too many tracks that have closed in this area.
Yeah, we had one this week.
Yeah, Thunderbird, like just don't do it. And I see David is on here. He was the announcer over at Lorraine and Painesville. I don't know but he has a podcast now. So shout out to him. I don't remember if he got a landing job this year or not for an announcement. I forgot to ask him if he found a spot. But look at Ohio, Lorraine, gone, pretty much gone. Painesville, they have new promoters there. Hopefully they stick around, but Bradenton or I think it's Bradenton. No, that's not right. Norton, Sandusky, right? All these tracks. Ohio lost like 7 of them in the winter. So don't let rain be the reason you lose your mind on Facebook. Just in fact, log off that day. Just log off.
Yeah.
Just
Read your comment. Think about, is this adding anything?
yeah.
Am I adding to the conversation?
Yeah. Sorry, I got on that soapbox, but I just saw that with the Kenny Wallace thing, and then thinking of, South Bend Cubs, and then some tracks have had to rain out, and you just look at their comment section, and it's like, it was hot laps, people. It wasn't even a real race. It was a hot lap. But so just don't. Cody Geyer did a nice job. He announced that, because think of Indianapolis Speedrome last week. They had rain. They still got their event in, though, because they drive the track. They did that. And I also don't want to hear that either. Well, they didn't try to drive the track. I promise you, my car was dirty enough last year at Kalamazoo multiple times, because they took my car out there to help drive the track, that they indeed did try to drive the track. It just sometimes it does not work in your favor. So again, tracks are trying, but at some point, some tracks like Galesburg has a curfew. They can't sit around for hours and play with the track. They got to make a choice at some point. And 40, I believe, has a curfew.
Yep.
Could be wrong.
Historically, they did, yeah.
Yeah. So, some tracks that you just can't sit there all night, and then fans get mad and angry, and then, it's just a whole mess. And so again, didn't mean to get on that soapbox. That's not what this episode was about. But once Drew, I told you to not go down the rabbit hole, but Drew said Kenny Wallace, and that opened up my rabbit hole.
But supposed to be nice this weekend. Race cars this weekend. What? Drown out the noise with horsepower.
Yes. And we all need that therapy. So
absolutely,
we'll let people go, because again, we've kept them way longer than what we said. But as just a reminder, this was a longer episode than what will be normal. But we were answering our question of the night as we went on. That won't be the case every week. Where it'll be hit and miss with maybe every few tracks we'll answer. So again, I know your favorite thing is, I'm going to let you sign off, because my favorite thing is to say it's time to turn left and go fast, and yours is
see you at the races.
So we hope to see. Yeah,
I was whispering. I'm sorry.
We hope somewhere to see you at the races.
Absolutely.
Have a good night, everybody. Share this out. Let people know, since this does preview what's coming up. We'll see you all next Monday on the Monday Night Rewind with Evan Verdine, Frank Gasco, and a huge, I promise you, ground-shattering, huge announcement from Rich Bull Racing at 8 o'clock-ish next Monday on the Monday Night Rewind. So you need to be here next. I don't mean to point, by the way, but you need to be here, because Rich Bull has breaking news, and he's breaking it on the Monday Night Rewind. And I'll see some of you on Saturday. Onboard cameras still available. Reach out. Let's get using them. See you guys next week or this week.
See you at the races.